The pleasure trap, where we are constantly addicted to being stimulated, always want to seek that euphoria, that pleasure. But is it serving us? Do we get the long-term gratification that we will then feel fulfilled? Let's talk about it in today's video. Hello Rawlicious souls, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, welcome. This is where I share and we discuss about the raw living lifestyle and also life hacks, because we all want not just an incredible, thriving, lean, healthy body, but we want a thriving life as well. We're going to talk about the pleasure trap. We're all in it, we all experience it, and we're going to find out if it's serving us or not. We are all pleasure-seeking beings. There's no denying that. But we have to discern ourselves with what is empty pleasure and what is fulfilling pleasure. Modern society is certainly a pleasure trap. There are stimulations everywhere. We're all pleasure-seeking souls. We're constantly looking for entertainment. Look at social media now. Look at TikTok, these like few second videos to keep you captivated, to keep you longer on a YouTube channel. YouTubers have got to put in extra B-rolls, be extra exciting, because we constantly want to be stimulated. Look at food. I'm always bringing it back to food, because food is the foundation for living a good or a mediocre or quite a sad, depressive life, because food is everywhere. Food is abundant. We are constantly bombarded with all these fast food joints. If you look around you, all these malls, the supermarkets, you go anywhere in plazas, malls, majority of the time there is food restaurants. Over 90% of it is food restaurants. We're always looking for that quick fix, constantly being hijacked and stimulated. But is it making you feel more empty or more fulfilled? The question is what we want to be asking ourselves. Is this taking away from me or giving me more? There's always an energy exchange in everything we do. Let's talk about when we are consuming food. Let's say we're going to eat some pizza, some vegan pizza, and you start to think about all those different flavors. It's firing all kinds of pleasure molecules in the brain and body. Once you start thinking about it, mouth starts to water. If you're watching it on TV, you start thinking about the food and you're just like, oh my goodness, I've got to eat it now. And then once you've ordered it, or you can smell it, you start to anticipate, you start to get that dopamine release. The whole process when you're with your friends and you're out to eat, you're constantly bombarded with this stimulus, the smells, the taste. There's no denying that pizza gives you pleasure, or short-term pleasure. Your brain starts to secrete dopamine. That means you start to get excited. Have you heard of the Pablos Theory, where he was training dogs to salivate when he rings the bell? When he rings the bell, he gave them food. So they associated ringing the bell, they have food. So they start salivating before we even receive the food. And this is what's happening before we even start to eat. All these senses are going off. All the dopamine is starting to be released. The minute you decide you want that pizza, it starts to give you joy, pleasure, becomes addictive. Look at the opioids that are in cheese. Non-vegan cheese has addictive properties. Opioids, naturally occurring hormones, because when you're growing a baby calf, because cheeses come from milk has come from cows. Cows produce the milk for calves and calves only for their babies. They suckle and they need these natural occurring hormones to be addictive so that the calf survives, so that makes sure it drinks the milk from the mother. So that is why we are addicted to these cheeses, these fast foods. especially with milking, all these additives, MSGs, salts, they're keeping you addicted, releasing all this dopamine, and you wonder why you struggle to stop eating these foods. They are like a drug, they are like heroin. You want your fix, and you feel sometimes you're just out of control. But afterwards, how do you feel? You feel numb, you feel tired, you feel thirsty. All you want to do is take a nap. Especially for me, the next day when I've eaten anything heavy cooked, the next day I feel thirsty, groggy, more tired. I can't even get up in the morning. I don't have a sense of purpose and direction. I feel lost. Everything's hard work. You might feel in that moment when you're consuming those foods that, wow, I feel happy and pleasurable and calm and relaxed, like a drug. But that is short term. How do you feel afterwards? And this is what we want to repeat to ourselves. How do you feel after you've eaten? What's the consequences? How do you feel the next day? Is it taking more away from me, or is it giving me more? As soon as I started to switch to a raw vegan diet, I come up against a lot of resistance. I was struggling because I was missing that high fix. Because you don't really get that from raw foods, especially if you're eating very simple. Now, you can have some stimulant foods and some really tasty gourmet raw vegan foods, but ultimately, if you have the most simplest and cleanest, the less foods, more mono meals, you start to realize that you're using food as pleasure. Now you may think, oh, but that's what life's about. That's what's great. But if you're struggling in other areas of your life and you're just using food, like for me, I just found wow, if I take food out of my diet, what else do I have? Nothing else is fun. I noticed I wasn't dealing with things very well. I was using food as a crutch, to numb out, to escape, to not feel my emotions. And we all know when we're not feeling, we are not listening to what's coming up. When we're suppressing, we are not healing. We are not going to deal with these repeated habits and behaviors that are not serving us. We start to look at other areas in our life that we are not dealing with. We're using food to numb. All I wanted to do, it was like a drug. It was just a fix. It would allow me to calm, to relax. Some people use smoking, some people use other forms of drugs. I was using food to just numb me, to zone me out, just using food for my only pleasure, but only lasts short term. And what's the long-term consequences of that? Not dealing with our emotions, gaining weight, feeling sluggish, tired all the time, not as energetic. So it affects all areas of my life. You're more irritable, you're more ratty, you're more uncomfortable, you don't tolerate the heat. For me, living in the tropics, I don't tolerate the heat as much. You're moody, you're not as balanced. Ask yourself, what is it taking away from you? If you're using food to cope with your emotions, to only see that as pleasure, then we're never going to enjoy other aspects of our life. Nothing is going to come close. Nothing is going to be good enough. You get your fix. Before you know it, you're using food for everything, for dealing with stress, for dealing with anxiety, for dealing with depression. Always hungry. You're never satisfied. Always looking for the next quick fix, next stimulation. And that is the trap. That is the pleasure trap. And another thing to consider is when we're eating constantly, our insulin is going up and down, up and down. And we're always then hungry. Again, we're looking for that next spike, that next insulin increase. We want something. It's not until you stop eating those foods that you start to feel the benefits of how good you can really feel, and your confidence, your self-esteem, your self-worth naturally increases. It just becomes just a vicious cycle. If you can have this awareness, knowing that when you eat food, you're eating salty, you want sweet, and then you want sweet, then you want salty, you realize you're back and forth, you're yo-yoing, you're going on to any quick fix diet that leaves you more depleted than you started. You start to lose hope, you start to lose faith in yourself, you start to see the world negatively. You lose yourself. It constantly keeps you in a perpetual state of desire. You'll never get contentment or peace when you're constantly desiring, constantly wanting to be stimulated. That's empty pleasure. So what's fulfilling pleasure? Well, it's gratitude, appreciation, being here right now, being in the moment. When you're not using food to constantly be stimulated, you'll look at other areas of your life that you want to nourish, and you'll start to enjoy more of other things rather than getting that quick fix. Being consistent, peace and contentment. And that's what we all truly want and desire. Grateful when you're content, when you're peaceful, when you're in that appreciation, you're much more balanced, calm. You'll choose foods that are going to serve you. You'll choose foods that give you something more rather than taking away. More expansive, more energized, more elevated. Next day you'll be more energized, more focused on what you want rather than mucusy and coughing and being sick. If you can take anything away consistently, ask yourself, is this, and this can go for anything that you feel is essentially not serving you. It could be smoking, alcohol, foods. Is this taking away from me or giving me more? How is this making me feel afterwards? Is it empty pleasure or is it fulfilling pleasure? Fulfilling pleasure is going to be long lasting to your happiness, to actually get and see the results that you truly deserve and desire. If you want support on your journey and you don't want to do this on your own, I have 30 days to Rawlicious challenge. Not only will you get the course, a video every single day to reprogram, rewire the brain, to show you what is possible, how you can make this work, to lose weight, gain health, get energized, feel freaking amazing, feel Rawlicious, have accountability in our community group where we all come together on this same journey, this sacred journey, where we can support and acknowledge each other and make ourselves accountable. The course takes you step by step. What you need to do each day for 30 days, only 30 days, short videos and actionable steps that's going to change your body and your life. If you want more information on the course and the community group, then do check that out in the description box below. If you've got any questions, also comment below as well. If you like this video, thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed, and I shall see you in the next videos.